Hello, welcome to the course PH5 BO6 Electrodynamics 2. The contents of this course is taken from Electricity and Magnetism by R. Murugesan. We will continue to discuss topics from chapter 12, Transient Currents. In the last class, we have analyzed the growth and decay of current in an LR circuit. Today, let's study the growth and decay of charges in a RC circuit. A CR circuit. So here a capacitor of capacitance C and a resistor of resistance R are connected in series to a cell of constant potential E through a Morse key. So when the key is pressed, this T comes in contact with this terminal, this T comes in contact with this terminal. So basically the battery is included in the circuit. So battery drives current through the capacitor and the resistor. On the other hand, when you release the Morse key, so basically the T goes up and touches this point, and this T comes in contact with this point as shown in this figure. So there is a gap here. In other words, the battery is removed from the circuit. Now, before going into the details of a CR circuit, let's first try to understand what is the working of a capacitor, because this is important in understanding the electrical behavior of the circuit. A capacitor is similar to an inverter which we use in our home. What does the inverter do? And the electricity from the power grid is available, inverter stores the electricity, and when the electricity from the power grid is absent, the inverter starts like a source. It starts to provide electricity or supply electricity. So when the source is there, the inverter stores the electricity. When the source is absent, it starts to behave like a backup source, and it provides electricity. So this is a backup source. Similarly, a capacitor is also a backup source. So you can see the working of a capacitor from this animation. When the capacitor is connected to a battery, it stores the charges from the source, and when the battery is removed, when the circuit is open and the battery is removed, what does the capacitor do? It now starts to behave like a battery. It provides charges. So if you connect a bulb to an already charged capacitor, bulb starts glowing. So this is like a backup source. So when you charge the capacitor and release it, there is a current I which is going to flow through the circuit. Now those of you who are already familiar with the working of the capacitor may be wondering what is the current we are talking about, because we know that typically a capacitor doesn't allow DC current to pass through. It only allows AC current to pass through. And what is the current we are talking about? So the current here is not a continuous current. It's not a constant current. It exists only for a short time. That's why I call it as a momentary current or a temporary current. So this current exists only while the capacitor is charging and also while the capacitor is discharging. I can explain this using an example scenario. Suppose you have a DC battery which is connected to a bulb and a capacitor as shown this figure. Suppose the capacitor is absent. What happens? Battery drives current through the bulb and the bulb glows. So you have a constant current through the circuit. So there is a constant glow in the bulb. When I introduce the capacitor, now what happens? Battery drives the charges through the bulb. So there is a current, bulb is glowing, and when the charges reach capacitor, capacitor starts to store the charges. So the charges which initially take part in the current flow now gets charged. As a consequence of that, number of charges available for the current flow decreases. So when the current decreases, the glow of the bulb diminishes. It becomes dimmer. Finally, at one point, the capacitor gets fully charged. In other words, all the charges which were previously available for the current flow now get stored in the capacitor. So there is no more current in the circuit. As a consequence, the bulb it completely switches off. So you have a temporary current while the capacitor was charged. Now if I remove the battery and connect these two terminals together, what happens? The source is absent. Now capacitor works like a backup source. So it starts to provide charges. So there is a current generated in the circuit. And the current goes through the bulb. Once again, the bulb starts glowing. But as the capacitor gets discharged, the number of charges stored in the capacitor decreases. So the current in the circuit also decreases. The bulb becomes dimmer, dimmer, dimmer. Finally, when all the charges are released from the capacitor, there is no more current flow in the circuit. So once again, the bulb switches off completely. So you have a momentary current while the capacitor is discharging. So when I say current I, this is not a steady current. This is a momentary current which exists only while the capacitor is charging and the capacitor is discharging. So you should remember this, especially in your lab experiments. If you are using a capacitor in a DC circuit, you will not get a continuous current flow. You will have only a momentary current flow. So let's say that at any time t, the amount of charge stored in the capacitor is Q. Now we want to mathematically analyze the growth and decay of charges stored in the capacitor. So what's the first step? As I said yesterday, we need to write down the EMF equation. So you have a constant EMF E provided by the source. A part of this EMF is going to drop across the capacitor and the remaining part is going to drop across the resistor. So if charge stored in the capacitor is Q and capacitance is C, the potential drop again across the capacitor is Q by C. Similarly, if I is the momentary current, potential drop across the resistance is IR. So the EMF equation is source EMF E equal to Q by C plus RI. Now, what's my aim? I need to understand growth and decay as a function of time. So I do not have an explicit time dependence in this equation, right? Now I need to introduce a time dependence. I know that current I is nothing but rate of change of charges. So I can write I equal to dq by dt. Substitute for I in this equation. It becomes E equal to Q by C plus R into dq by dt. Now you have a time dependent equation. When you solve this, you get Q as a function of time. Now how do we solve this? We are talking about charging of the capacitor, right? So capacitor gets charged. When it gets completely charged, we know that the total charge stored in the capacitor is Q naught. So from this example, we know once the capacitor gets fully charged, there is no current flow in the circuit. So current I equal to 0. How does that happen? Mathematically, see here. At Q equal to Q naught, dQ naught by dt. Q naught is a constant, so dQ naught by dt equal to 0. That's why we say when the capacitor is fully charged, the current is 0 in the circuit. Let's rewrite the equation, EMF equation at Q equal to Q naught. So what happened? This term R into dQ by dt, it vanishes. In place of Q, I have Q naught now. So equation is now E equal to Q naught by C. In other words, physically, what does it mean? This is important, guys, because whenever we derive something or whenever we do too much of mathematical manipulation, it's important that we also understand the physics behind it. Sometimes what happens is we focus too much on the mathematics, but in that process the physics is lost. So what is the physical meaning of this equation? When the capacitor is fully charged, the entire source voltage is going to drop across the capacitor. So that's the meaning of this equation, E equal to Q naught by C. Now in the EMF equation, instead of E, I can put Q naught by C. So the equation becomes Q naught by C equal to Q by C plus R into dQ by dt. Let's bring this term to the left hand side. This is q naught minus q by c equal to r into dq by dt, or q naught minus q equal to cr into dq by dt. Let's bring together all the q terms. So dq by q naught minus q equal to dt by cr. This is a first order differential equation. You need to solve this. What do you do? Just integrate it once. So integral of dq by q naught minus q is minus ln q naught minus q. Here you need to do a time integration. So integral of dt equal to t, and 1 by cr is a constant. So you have t by cr. Since we are doing an indefinite integration, you have a constant of integration k. To find the value of k, we can use the initial condition. So initially, the capacitor is empty, right? There is no charge in it. So at time t equal to 0, q equal to 0. So substitute in this equation, t equal to 0, this term gets cancelled, q equal to 0. On the left hand side I have minus ln q naught, on the right hand side I have k. So value of k equal to minus ln q naught. Substitute for k in this equation, it becomes minus ln q naught minus q equal to t by cr minus ln q naught. So bring this logarithmic term to the right hand side. So you get ln q naught minus q equal to minus ln q naught equal to minus t by cr, or ln q naught minus q divided by q naught equal to minus t by cr. Take exponential on either side. So on the left hand side, exponential and logarithm both cancel each other. You have q naught minus q divided by q naught. On the right hand side, you have e to the power minus t by cr. This is 1 minus q by q naught equal to e to the power minus t by cr, or you can write the instantaneous value of charge stored in the capacitor q equal to maximum charge q naught into 1 minus e to the power minus t by cr. So if you recollect yesterday's LR circuit, the equation looks exactly similar to the LR circuit case. So here, this particular term CR or RC is known as the time constant of a CR circuit. Let's plot this equation so that you will get an idea about the behavior of the charge. Okay, so what is that we have to do? We have to find out the endpoints. So the lower endpoint is at t equal to 0 and upper endpoint at t equal to infinity. So at t equal to 0, what is the value of q? So you have e to the power 0, which is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. So q equal to 0. Similarly, at t equal to infinity, you have e to the power minus infinity, which is 0. So q equal to q naught. So you have a function which changes from q equal to 0 to q equal to q naught, and this is an exponentially increasing function. So similar to the growth of current in an LR circuit, you have an exponentially increasing function here. And what's the meaning of this RC time constant? Suppose you put RC equal to t, then this equation q equal to q naught into 1 minus e to the power minus 1, substitute for e, you get q equal to 0.632 q naught. So you can define RC time constant as the time taken by the capacitor to get charged to 0.632 times its maximum value. When you vary the RC time constant, what happens to the current? So for that, let's calculate what is the rate of change of charge. In other words, you are calculating the current, the momentary current. So rate of change of charge dq by dt equal to, from this expression you can write q naught by cr e to the power minus t by cr. So let's take two cases. In one case, RC time constant equal to 1. In the second case, RC time constant equal to 2. For ease of analysis, assume that the maximum charge q naught equal to 1, and we are looking at the rate after 1 second. So t equal to 1. So plug in these values in this equation, you get dq by dt equal to 0.36, and when the RC time constant is 2, the rate of increase of charge dq by dt is 0.3. So when RC time constant increases, the rate of growth of charge decreases. In other words, greater the value of RC time constant, longer is the time taken by the charge to grow to the maximum value Q0, similar to the case of the current growth in an LR circuit. That's about the growth of the charge. Now, when you release the Morse key, as I said, the battery is excluded from the loop. Now capacitor acts like a backup source and it starts to get discharged. So initially it is charged to the fullest point Q0, and from this point it starts to get discharged. So during that process there is a momentary current I in the circuit. So once again, write the EMF equation E equal to Q by C plus Ri. Now the battery is removed, meaning E equal to 0. So the equation becomes 0 equal to Q by C plus Ri. I equal to dq by dt. So 0 equal to Q by C plus R into dq by dt. Rearrange the terms, bring all the Q terms together. dq by Q equal to minus dt by CR. First order differential equation, solve it by integrating once, you get ln Q equal to minus T by CR plus K. Now how do you find the value of K? Use the initial condition. What's the initial point? You have a fully charged capacitor. So at time T equal to 0, Q equal to Q0. So rewrite this equation at T equal to 0, you have ln Q0 equal to K. So substitute for K in this equation, you have ln Q equal to minus T by CR plus ln Q0. Bring ln Q0 to the left hand side, you have ln Q minus ln Q0 equal to minus T by CR, or ln Q by Q0 equal to minus T by CR. Take exponential on either side, Q by Q0 equal to e to the power minus T by CR, or the instantaneous value of charge while decay, Q equal to Q0 into e to the power minus T by CR. Once again, this look exactly to the current decay during in an LR circuit. Let's plot this, find out the endpoints. So initial case at T equal to 0 and final point T equal to infinity. At T equal to 0, you have e to the power 0 equal to 1. So Q equal to Q0. At T equal to infinity, e to the power minus infinity, which is 0. So Q equal to 0. And what is the form of this equation? This is an exponentially decreasing function. So you have the capacitor decreasing from Q equal to Q0 to Q equal to 0 in an exponential manner. Once again, put RC equal to T, the equation becomes Q equal to Q0 into e to the power minus 1, which is 0.368 times Q0. So you can also define the RC time constant as the time taken by the capacitor to get discharged to 0.368 times its maximum value. Now, how does the RC time constant affect the decay? Take the rate of decay. So this is the momentary current during decay, dq by dt. Take the differential of this equation. This is minus Q0 by CR e to the power minus T by CR. But Q0 into e to the power minus TCR equal to Q. So this is minus Q by CR. So this is straightforward to understand. When RC time constant increases, the rate decreases. Right? So greater the value of RC time constant, longer is the time taken by Q to decay to the minimum value 0. So RC time constant determines how fast the capacitor charges and discharges. And if you compare charging and discharging, you will find that these are complementary. So during charging, you have an exponential increase. During discharging, you have an exponential decrease of charge. Now, if you look closely at this graph, you will find one intriguing aspect. So, let's denote different time points here. So, you know, at 1 RC, the charge grows to 0.63. 0.628, something around that. So you can roughly take 0.63. So this is that point, right? In 1 RC, it grows from 0 to 0.63 here. So take 2 RC, 3 RC, different time points, and look at how much is the growth. Okay. So in the first RC time constant, it grows from this point to this point. Right? Y-axis is your charge axis, so it grows from here to here. But if you take the second time interval, it grows from here to here. The amount by which the current grows, it decreases. Similarly, in the third interval, it decreases even further. So as the time increases, the amount by which the current grows or decays, it decreases. So the rate of growth or decay is rapid at the beginning, but it becomes slower and slower as the time progresses. So usually it takes around 5 RC for a capacitor to get fully charged or discharged. In some instruments like the oscilloscope you use in your lab, it has an RC circuit in the input channel. So in such cases, the RC time constant is also known as the response time of the instrument. It determines how fast the instrument responds to a given signal. So we will discuss more that in one of the coming sessions. Now, one of the applications of this kind of an RC circuit is to determine the value of an unknown resistance. So usually this is used to measure high resistance. So now we know that when a capacitor of capacitance C and initial charge Q0, and it is allowed to discharge through a resistance R for a time T, the charge remaining on the capacitor is given by Q equal to Q0 e to the power minus T by CR. We had derived this. Now make some rearrangement from this equation. Q0 by Q equal to e to the power T by CR. Take logarithm on either side. Ln Q0 by Q equal to T by CR, or R equal to T by C into ln Q0 by Q. This is written in terms of natural logarithm, or in terms of base 10 logarithm, you can write T divided by 2.303 C log Q0 by Q. So if you know the value of the capacitance, and if you know for how much time the capacitor is getting discharged, then if you make a measurement of Q0 by Q, you can calculate the value of the unknown resistance. Now, there are different ways of doing it. One of the ways is to use a ballistic galvanometer. Probably you have used this in your lab experiment. So as you know, a ballistic galvanometer is a device, a very sensitive device, which is used to measure current or charge flow. So the detailed working and construction of ballistic galvanometer we will discuss in the coming classes. But for now, just know that the deflection shown in the ballistic galvanometer is proportional to the amount of charge passing through the coil of the galvanometer. So you can write charge Q is proportional to deflection T. So instead of measuring charge directly, you can measure the deflection, and from that you can calculate the charge which is coming out from the capacitor. So what you do, you construct a circuit like this. So you have a DC power supply E, a ballistic galvanometer, a high resistance whose value you need to measure, and a capacitor of capacitance C. So first you need to measure Q0, the maximum charge stored in the capacitor. For that, first you need to charge the capacitor fully. So what you do, keep the keys K2 and K3 open and close K1. Now capacitor is in contact with the power supply. It gets fully charged. Now what you need to do, you need to measure Q naught. You cannot measure it directly. Instead, what you do, you measure the deflection on the ballistic galvanometer corresponding to Q naught. So for that, you open K1. So the power supply is removed from the circuit and close K3. Now the capacitor is connected to the ballistic galvanometer. The charge Q naught from the capacitor flows through the ballistic galvanometer. You get a deflection corresponding to that, called that as theta naught. So measure theta naught. This will give you an idea of how much charge is stored in the capacitor. Now you need to measure the charge stored in the capacitor after a time t. So once again, we need to charge the capacitor fully. So you open K3 and close K1. Now the capacitor is connected to the power supply E. You allow it to charge for some time. It gets fully charged. The charge stored in the capacitor now is Q naught. You now need to allow the capacitor to discharge through the resistance R for a known time T. So for that, you open K1 and close K2. Now capacitor is connected to the resistor. It gets discharged through the resistor for a time T. So when it gets discharged, the amount of charge stored in the capacitor decreases. So initially it was Q naught. After a time T, it becomes Q. You want to measure Q, you cannot measure it directly. So what you do, you measure the deflection theta corresponding to Q. For that, what you do, you open K2 and close K3. Now the capacitor is connected to BG. The charge remaining on the capacitor Q passes through the ballistic galvanometer and you can measure the corresponding deflection theta. As you know, Q is proportional to theta, so Q naught by Q is same as theta naught by theta. So this equation now gets modified as R equal to T divided by 2.303 C log theta naught by theta. You have made the measurement of theta naught and theta, substitute the values here. T is the known time, the value of C is already known. So you have all the parameters available now. You can calculate the value of the unknown resistance R. Now one important question. Why do I always say that high resistance? Can I use this method to measure a low resistance? I will answer this, but before that you can pause the video at this moment and think for yourself. Try to arrive at an answer. Because we already know the working of an RC circuit, right? So you try to think what is the issue if the resistance is small. Now what is the meaning of RC time constant? It determines how fast the capacitor charges and discharges. So if the RC time constant is small, the capacitor charges quickly and discharges quickly. Let's take some example values. Suppose a capacitance is 1 millifarad and resistance is really small, like 1 ohm. So what is the RC time constant? 1 millifarad into 1 ohm. This is 1 millisecond. And we have seen that typically a capacitor takes around 5 RC to get completely discharged. So in 5 milliseconds, the capacitor gets completely discharged. Now imagine that you are making this measurement in the lab. So you constructed this circuit, then you want to make a measurement of theta naught and theta. So what you have to do, you have to close some keys, you have to open some keys, then look at the deflection, then note down the value. Surely it is going to take you 2-3 seconds or more, right? A couple of seconds is going to take you. But the RC time constant is very small. So in 5 milliseconds, the capacitor gets completely discharged. So by the time you open and close the keys and look at the deflection, the capacitor is fully discharged and you will see zero current or zero deflection in your ballistic galvanometer. Right? So the response of the capacitor is too small. By the time we make the measurement, the charge is completely gone. So this is the problem if the resistance is small. On the other hand, if the resistance is high, for example, you have 1 kilo ohm here. Now the RC time constant is 1 kilo ohm into 1 millifarad, which is 1 second. So it takes around 5 seconds to completely discharge. So if you are able to make all this opening and closing in 1 or 2 seconds, then by the time you make a measurement, there is sufficient charge remaining in the capacitor. So you can make a measurement of the deflection. So when the R increases, the response of the capacitor becomes very, very slow. This makes our measurement more and more accurate. That's why we use this method specifically for high resistance, so that you have a slow response from the capacitor and the error involved in the measurement is very, very small. So that's about the growth and decay of charges in an RC circuit. In the next class, we will see the growth and decay of current in an LCR circuit. Thank you.